Well, good morning, everybody. This is MJ, your host of UnBolted, and it is Thursday morning, January 15th, and we are here live. I've been watching that the hearing on a very important bill is coming up here very shortly. I've been watching the committee hearing on the Senate Bill 5974, which is a bill that wants the state to be able to decertify our local elected sheriffs. And I think a lot of you might have been following along with this. What is always fascinating to me is to actually watch these hearings live and hear who is for and who is against. So this was kind of a last minute thought to come here live and present this and share the hearing with you. You bear with me because this is kind of a trial deal, but I think it's important enough that hopefully you'll forgive any faux pas that I might have and technology challenges that I may have as well. So we're going to actually tune right into the hearing right now. They're talking about the face covering requirement, the bill that would require no face coverings on our officials, on our uh, police or ICE. And so that's been an interesting conversation. So let's go to that now and let's hear in on that. Let me get So again, just to kind of cue you in, we kind of jumped right in here. This is the hearing in the Senate. I believe it is the Senate Law and Justice Committee hearing that started at 10:30. Right now, they're still in executive session and they're discussing Senate Bill 5855, which is concerning the use of face coverings by law enforcement officers. And then late on the agenda is the public hearing for Senate Bill 5974, which has the title of Modernizing and Strengthening Laws Concerning Sheriffs, Police Chiefs, Town Marshals, Law Enforcement Agency, Volunteers, Youth Cadets, Specially Commissioned Officers, and Police Matrons. And that's what I really wanted to share with you today. But um, I think the comments about, we'll turn that back on. Okay, so that gives us a time to kind of pause here and recap what just happened. So they they went into executive session at the beginning of this hearing of this meeting at 10:30, and they put it on the agenda that they were going to consider these four bills for um, for executive session. And let me show you that page real quick. Let's see, share this tab instead. So hopefully, and if I could get, if anybody out there is listening, if you want to comment and make sure that you're hearing me and seeing me okay, and the video was coming across clearly. I've had issues in the past. So again, this is still, um, a trial and error thing. So this is on ledge.wa.gov, ledge.wa.gov. And then I clicked in the committee schedules for the day. It's actually was on the first page, and then I clicked onto the Senate Law and Justice for today. So here's the agenda. You can see executive session has these four bills, and that means executive session is when they're actually going to vote on it. I'm assuming that the hearing must have already happened. I wasn't following this one as close as I should have been. So the hearing probably already happened, and you can always go back and review those live or review those later. TVW does an amazing job at showing those live as we're watching right now, but also archiving those so you can go back and watch these. And it's always very interesting to see who is testifying pro, who is testifying con live. And then you also want to dig into the documents and see the one legislator mentioned that there was 14,000 people that had signed in pro for this bill, this mass bill, 5855. Again, and let me just clarify 5855 concerning the use of face coverings by law enforcement officers. So this is wanting the law enforcement officers not to be able to use face coverings. So anyway, that's what we're looking at right now. And then as you can see here, what is on the agenda now is this public hearing for these four bills. So she just mentioned Senate Bill 6011, which is concerning the authority of Court of Appeals bailiffs to assess threats to Court of Appeal judicial offers and staff members. Then there's Senate Bill 6009, Senate Bill 5868, and then Senate Bill 5974, which is the one why I bring you this live today, because we want to definitely hear about this bill. And we want to hear from our local law enforcement experts and sheriffs. I saw that Conservative Ladies of Washington on X posted that the testimony lineup includes, actually, I'm going to share this and show you this on X so you can all see what I'm reading from. Again, this is Conservative Ladies of America or Washington, and or Washington. Great account to follow and read along and engage with. Shout out to Julie Barrett. Julie, you're doing a great job, and I hope to have you on here. In fact, I wish I would have thought about this ahead of time. I would have had you on here with me to do some comments. If you hear this, uh, you know, text me real quick and we'll get you on here. But the testimony lineup includes sheriffs from Pierce County, Spokane County, our Spokane County, Sheriff John Knowles, Adams County, Grant County, and Walla Walla County. And that means that our sheriffs are jumping on the horn to make sure that you hear and the legislators hear the testimony of why this bill is a bad bill and it should be voted down. So we're looking forward to that happening. There's a couple more bills to get to, as I said. And so, as I'm doing this and we've got a little downtime, hopefully I can just help you have a little bit of education about engaging and how to navigate all this. So, if you missed my session live interview with Brian Noble on Monday, you can go back on X or Facebook or Rumble or YouTube and watch that. And we kind of covered briefly a quick overview of what is happening. In Washington State, we have long sessions and short sessions. Our legislature is not in session all year long. Thank goodness. I believe that's a good thing because it's so crazy and nutty in the few months that we do have it, that I can't imagine it going longer. But other states, it goes all the time. So in Washington State, our session started this year on Monday, and it's a short session. So they do a biennium, a 2-year session. And so usually when they pass the budget or pass bills, it's for 2025 through 2026. And the short session, the second year session that we're in, 2026, is supposed to just be for little refinements, because it's a shorter session, little adjustments. And we're seeing these massive policy shifts, like the masking or unmasking of our law enforcement bill that just passed through the committee, just as we were hearing just a second ago. So it is fast and furious. It is hard to keep up with. Things move very fast. And that's why, a little bit late to the table here and bringing you this and not giving you a lot of forewarning. But if you're following people like Conservative Ladies of Washington, Julie Barrett, Nancy Churchill is another great account to follow. She is influencing Washington, and I will find that for you once we're listening in on some hearings. I'll find her information for you and share that, how you can sign up for her. She's got a great email. And then Family Policy Institute of Washington, the Defender app is another great one. Now, not everybody's going to agree on all these, on their positions on these different bills, but it's good for you to follow. And then what's great about it is it highlights the different bills that they think they are most important for them to focus on. So, Family Policy Institute of Washington is going to focus on family bills, on marriage bills, on health, and life bills. I believe that's their four main categories. And, things that might be kind of on the peripheral of that or overlap with that. Julie Barrett, she's got a focus, Conservative Ladies of Washington, of what they're going to focus on. So you'll kind of find which ones follow the things that are important to you. Um, and those are good tools to help you kind of keep up on what are the bills that are being heard and considered, and how can you engage in this process. So let's review real quick. We have this session. A bill has to be put towards a committee first, and then it needs a hearing, and then after the hearing, then the public hearing, then the executive session happens, if that's the chair's call, and it's either passed or not passed. And only if it's passed does it move on. If it's not passed, then it's supposed to be dead in the water. It has to pass both the House and the chamber to be able then to be signed by the governor. So that's the three branches or the three steps. And so, just because a bill passes the committee doesn't mean it is law yet. But it's very important to watch these. These are moving very fast and furious at the very beginning of session. And these are super important bills. So they're hearing 6009 right now. I just checked in there, and the agenda. So they're on the second bill. So we'll keep watching that. Let's see, where am I at? Let's share with you this screen, and I will show you how we got to here. So if you go to ledge.wa.gov and you go to that this is the home screen, ledge.wa.gov. And you can type in the bill number right there. And then you can also go down and find out what's happening in the legislature today. So this keeps you up to date with how many days are left in the session. Here's the calendar, kind of the dates. There's certain cutoffs for each of the House and the committee and the committees, and the Senate. And this will kind of tell you all the different committees that are being heard today at the different times. So I knew that the Senate Law and Justice Committee was being heard at 10:30. So I went right to 10:30 and I found that right here. So that's where you could view the video live, which we're doing right now, and you can click that agenda. And that's how I found the full agenda for today. And They're getting close to this 5974, which we'll listen in on here once they get to that. Let's see here. What let's just listen into here for 1 second. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. The video went backwards for some reason. So let me share this other screen. Oh, we were just listening in. I guess I didn't toggle back. Sorry again, as I work my way through this. So here's the committee schedule. So let's go back to ledge.wa.gov, that home screen, and we're going to type in 5974. That is the sheriff bill that we are waiting to hear about. And then you're going to search. So here's the bill. It again, it says what the title is: modernizing and strengthening laws concerning sheriffs, police chiefs, town marshals, law enforcement agency volunteers, youth cadets, specifically commissioned officers, and police matrons. All right. So you can send a comment to your legislators by clicking there. You can sign up to testify or submit written testimony. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to go over here to that. So if you want to sign up to testify, or you want to sign in your position, you would click on that bill, whichever bill you want, and you can also submit written testimony here. Now, the cutoff to provide this information to the legislators for their consideration, and also it's all made public, as we talked about on Monday, is usually the date, the time and the date of the hearing. So we'll see what we can do here, since the committee already started at 10:30. But I do believe you can submit written testimony up to 24 hours after the hearing. So if you haven't provided testimony or signed in your position, you still have time to submit written testimony. And that's very important. And it is important to let your legislators know, as we saw on that last screen, but that is usually just 3. You want to let the committee know too, and you want to let other legislators know. And that's why signing in your position is so important. So we're going to click here. I've got a very slow mouse right now. It talks about how you do all these things, which is really important. And we're going to click on this and to see who has signed in for this agenda item. And I hope we can pull it up. My computer might not let me. It's thinking, it's trying. Well, it might not do that. Anyway, that is where you would be able to do that. Let's exit page. Let's reload. Yeah, I don't think it's going to let me do that while I'm trying to do all that. But maybe I can be able to pull this up another way for you. So that's also really interesting, because that's where you get who has signed up to submit or who signed up for this agenda item, and also who has signed in pro or con, and how many people. And that's very telling. In fact, our caucuses, our Republican and Democrat caucuses, both of them use that to kind of help portray what's going on. You know, how many people are signing in? Hey, the public's really upset about this bill, or the public is really behind this bill. And that's why it's so important to have you all engage with us and help to boost those numbers on these super important issues. All right, I'm looking back here. Let's see where we're at. Okay, we're trying to share the screen here of the hearing. We're not quite to the sheriff's bill yet, but hopefully you all realize the importance of this 5974, of what it would do to our sheriffs. And I haven't read all the details of the bill yet, but it could decertify any of our elected sheriffs in our state. You know, based on the attorney general is what I'm thinking. So if they felt that the sheriff wasn't um, following along right, um, then they could do away with them, which is just unbelievable. So I am having some computer issues unfortunately now, so it is not wanting to share my screen, but we will keep trying, and I will keep trying to bring this to you. It seems a little choppy on my end, so I'm not sure if you guys are getting this clear yet or not. Let's see here. Yep, it's still thinking. So it is struggling big time. So that is still on, I believe, the other bill. Let's see if we can listen in here.
The position would help ensure the court can continue to meet its obligations while maintaining public trust and access to justice. Thank you for your time and your continued commitment to supporting access to justice in our communities.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to go to Judge Elizabeth Nadsky, who's online. Judge, if we can have you unmute and come on video and begin.
All right. Good morning, Chair Dingra and Ranking Member Holy and members of the committee. My name is Elizabeth Nedzweski, and I am presiding judge for Skagit County Superior Court. I am testifying in support of Senate Bill 5868. I do apologize for not attending in person for this hearing. Given how
All right. So they are still on 5868. So let's see if we can find that agenda again. And that is the bill right and before 5974. So we are going to hang tight here and keep listening in.
is not unusual in our court. Skagit County has a documented need for additional judicial resources. Pursuant to the latest judicial needs study, which I will note was in 2019, we are almost 1.5 judicial officers below our estimated need. The last time a judge position was added in Skagit County was in 2006. Since then, the population of our county has grown by approximately 20%, and case filings and cases heard in Skagit County have increased proportionately. We continue to hear an ever-increasing number of bench and jury trials. However, at any given week, we are striking cases. This week, and indeed through the rest of the month, we have had to strike and continue at least 3 trials per week, and these are our most serious family cases and civil trial cases involving access to housing. We ask for your support in this bill, and we thank you to Senator Wagner for introducing and bringing this bill forward.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to hear from LaDon Lindy from Yakima County.
Very good. Good morning, Chair Dingra, Ranking Member Holy, and committee members. I'm here appreciative of the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 5868. And again, for the record, my name is LaDon Lindy. This is our judicial capacity at a time when we desperately need it. Since 19...
Okay, so they are still on that 5868 bill. The next bill for hearing is the 5974, which is concerning our sheriffs in our state. So I just posted the link for the bill. And so you can go in there and also click on the actual bill, original bill, and see exactly what it says. And a lot of times, quite honestly, a lot of us, since we're looking at so many bills so quickly, we might throw them into Grok or AI and help them summarize it for us if you want to get your own idea and not just go off of somebody else's analysis from it. But I also, use the other people's information like I shared with you before, Conservative Ladies of Washington, Family Policy Institute of Washington, Nancy Churchill's information to really try to get the meat out and see which bills I'm most concerned about. Family Policy Institute of Washington, they have an action site, and so they created this Defender app. So if you go to Washington Defender app to find that, you can find that, and that is super helpful. All right, we're going to turn back in here.
Skagit County as a whole is facing a challenging budget year this year ourselves. The Board of County Commissioners recognize how critical this position.
Okay, they're still talking about that last bill. So I just wanted to make sure not to miss the intro of 5974 for you all. So I think it's coming up here very quickly. So yeah, let me know how you all are doing and what questions you might have. I know I kind of covered the overview very quickly. There's a lot of information on ledge.wa.gov that you can find. And again, we just hope that you engage in this as it will help you learn when these bills are passed, why these bills are passed, and help to engage you with your local legislators as well as the legislators, at the state level that are making these laws or turning these bills down, as we'll yet to see what happens. It's so important to get involved, locally, statewide, nationally. You have the most impact locally. So getting to know your legislators, there's a place for that on the website as well. And so we recommend that if you don't know who your legislators are, that you take time to get to know them, reach out to them, talk to them. It's when you build that rapport, relationship is everything. When you build that rapport with your legislators, it's much easier to call them when you have a concern or send them an email, and they respond more because they know who you are. They know that you're not just some bot out there, putting in a form email. So again, highly recommend it. Okay, we're going to cue back in here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those signed in not wanting to testify, there were 15 pro, 5 con.
Thank you. And that brings us to the last bill before us today, Senate Bill 5974, and we will start with staff briefing.
Good morning. For the record, my IATA staff counsel to this committee. Before you is Senate Bill 5974 concerning sheriffs, police chiefs, town marshals, law enforcement agency volunteers, youth cadets, and specially commissioned officers. To give some background, there are two main categories of law enforcement leaders: police chiefs and marshals who lead police departments in cities and towns, and sheriffs who lead county sheriff's departments. Chiefs and marshals have several eligibility criteria for appointment, including having a high school diploma, having no gross misdemeanor convictions within 5 years of application, and having at least 2 years of regular full-time commissioned law enforcement employment. In contrast, the eligibility criterion for sheriffs is obtaining certification from the Criminal Justice Training Commission within 12 months of assuming office. In addition to leaders, law enforcement agencies have volunteers, youth cadets, and specially commissioned officers. A specially commissioned peace officer is any officer, compensated or not, who is commissioned by a law enforcement agency, but who does not qualify as a peace officer for the commissioning agency. This bill adds eligibility requirements for becoming a chief or marshal. These added requirements include being at least 25 years old, having no gross misdemeanor convictions at all, and having at least 5 years of regular uninterrupted full-time law enforcement employment. This bill makes sheriffs subject to both the current and added eligibility requirements to which chiefs and marshals are subject. This bill also prohibits the use of volunteers and youth cadets for certain tasks, such as using firearms or detaining people unless they are trained and certified. Additionally, the bill places limitations on specially commissioned officers, such as requiring that a specially commissioned officer be supervised by the law enforcement agency that commissioned them, unless the unless the primary commissioning agency temporarily delegates supervision to another agency. And finally, this bill makes changes to the background investigation process for chiefs, marshals, and sheriffs, and additional details can be found in the bill report. A fiscal note has been requested and not yet received. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you so much for that, Maya. Do any of the staff members have any questions? I'm sorry, do any of the senators have questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. Senator Lovett, would you like to speak about your bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is John Lovick, and I'm a senator from the 44th District, which is in Snohomish County. Thank you for hearing Senate Bill 5974, and a special thanks, Madam Chair, for hearing it today on what would have been Dr. Martin Luther King's 97th birthday. Ms. Aitai explained the bill well. I know a lot of people want to testify, so my remarks will be very brief. Madam Chair, I was proud to wear the badge for almost 4 decades as a state trooper and Snohomish County Sheriff. My oldest son has served nearly 25 years with the Los Angeles Police Department. My cousin retired from the Los Angeles Police Department and I have relatives and agencies in other states. I say to say this, for the Lovicks, law enforcement is the family business. I've been asked, why do we need this legislation? My answer is, why not? Why not hold law enforcement leaders appointed or elected to the standards of accountability and professionalism that subordinates are held to? This legislation ensures that anyone with authority to detain, arrest, or use deadly force is highly trained, well prepared, and professional. Senate Bill 5974 is a proactive approach to community relations and accountability. I've heard concerns that law enforcement leaders could be decertified for being unpopular. To be clear, Madam Chair, peace officers do not lose their certification simply because they are unpopular. There are objective standards for decertification. Since all peace officers must maintain their certification, these laws need to be updated to make clear what occurs when a law enforcement leader certification is revoked for misconduct. Madam Chair, I hope the outstanding law enforcement leaders in our state will support this legislation. Great leaders lead by example. They embody the standards of accountability that they expect from their subordinates. Today, Madam Chair, on Dr. King's 97th birthday, this legislation continues his work of building trust between law enforcement and communities they are sworn to protect and to serve. And as Dr. King would always say, we shall overcome. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lovick. And with that, we're going to start with public testimony, starting with the first panel, Malau Chavez. I'm sorry. I'm hoping you can take it offline since he's available to you and we have a lot of people signed in to testify. And I want to make sure we give the public, okay, go for it then. Okay, go ahead, Senator Torres.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since this is a public hearing with recorded public testimony, I want to make sure to ask the question to the sponsor. I appreciate the explanation, but I did want to know if there was any kind of work group that was brought together, any stakeholdering that was done, were sheriffs invited to the table, who all was invited to have these conversations before the bill was drafted?
A great question. Actually, we spent most of the year, and I think Madam Chair will probably remember most of the groups. We met many times. We had a public hearing in my district, in the city of Mill Creek, and people were invited to the table. They were invited to give comments to the legislation, but that's a great question. And I really look forward to speaking with you again about this. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Any other questions for the prime sponsor? Okay, seeing none, we'll start with the first panel, Malau Chavez, Karen Piercy, Lyle Hassan, and on deck will be Mark Kreider, John Knowles, and Keith Swank.
So we've got some sheriffs coming right up here to testify.
Sorry about the mispronunciation. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Malu Chavez. I am the Executive Director of Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, a statewide legal services organization, and I'm here testifying in strong support of SB 5974. Law enforcement leaders can have a significant impact in immigrant communities, which makes it so important to have trust and confidence in those who lead these agencies, and also those who are establishing the culture and expectations for all the officers report to them. We know too well what happens when trust is lost. When law enforcement are interacting with communities, in particular communities who lack permanent immigration status. Today, as I sit here, many fear they may not be protected if they were to call on for help. They do not feel safe. This bill will ensure that professional standards of law enforcement leaders are updated and strengthened, and that they apply to law enforcement leaders across the state. Importantly, this bill will also dictate to not allow law enforcement to have volunteers not certified for law enforcement duties, enforcing or civil laws, engaging in pursuit or use of force, detaining or arresting, using surveillance technologies, or sharing information from law enforcement databases. This bill, along with others you're working on, will ensure that community members in Washington State are protected regardless of their immigration status. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Karen.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Jeff Hawley, Ranking Member Hawley, and committee members. My name is Karen Pesey. I'm here on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Washington, a nonpartisan organization with members and supporters in every county of the state. We strongly support Senate Bill 5974. It is common sense legislation that advances good government and modernizes our laws for law enforcement leaders. It will enhance public trust and confidence. This bill updates, strengthens, and aligns standards and eligibility requirements for all enforcement leaders. People can rest assured that those standards and requirements will be the same regardless of where in the state they live, whether they have a police chief, sheriff, or town marshal, whether that person is elected or appointed, and whether that person shares political views. Among other things, the eligibility requirements will ensure that those in charge of enforcing the law do not have a history of violating it or of committing other types of serious misconduct, and have not had certification revoked in Washington or any other state. 5974 also modernizes out-of-date provisions in the laws governing sheriffs so that their duties specifically include upholding the constitutions and enforcing laws the legislator has passed.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank
And
you.
we're going to go to remote testimony on Lyle, and then if I can have Mark Kreider and Kate Swank come up to the table. And then on deck will be John Knowles, who's remote as well. Go ahead, Lyle.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senator Lovett, my name is Lyle Quasim. I'm the retired Secretary of the Department of Social and Health Services. I'm here before you this morning to testify in favor of Senate Bill 5974. I represent the following community-based organizations and groups: the Tacoma Pierce County Black Elected, the Tacoma chapter of the NAACP, the Tacoma Pierce County Coalition. The passage of Senate Bill 5974 will strengthen requirements and provide consistency for all sheriffs, police chiefs, and town marshals. This is impactful public policy. This is important public policy. This bill will help the mission of law enforcement to protect and serve. These leaders, those in leadership in law enforcement, should have the same standards of accountability as all of those who work for them. If passed, this policy will also enhance public perception of law enforcement at a time when law enforcement is working hard to connect with most communities, especially the Black community. I have worked with law enforcement at the federal, state, and city levels. I worked directly and personally with FBI Director Sessions. I worked with Bill Gore, the special agent in charge for the state of Washington. As a Safe Street Campaign Director, I worked directly with Tacoma Police Chiefs. As a Chief of Staff for Pierce County Executive John Ladenburg, I worked directly with Pierce County Sheriff, who at that time was appointed by the executive.
Thank you so much, Lyle. We're out of time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Actually, two of the sheriffs are online, so while we have them unmute, if we can have, actually, you're sitting right there, so go ahead and begin, and then we'll go to Sheriff Kreider. Good afternoon.
Some of my colleagues naively believe that they can come here and reason with you. They don't understand what's at stake here. They don't understand you like I do. You're going to pass this qualification bill for law enforcement, but you won't hold yourselves accountable. Therefore, I propose everyone who runs for an elected office go through a background check, a social media review, a polygraph, a psychological test. But Democrats, you won't agree to that because you have convicted felons who are elected officials here. I represent almost 1 million people, more than all of you combined here. Many more people. I wasn't elected chief of police. Being sheriff of Pierce County is much more than police work. Citizens reach out to me all the time regarding overreach of the government by you. Some say they finally have a voice because of me, and you want to silence it because I said transgender women are men. I said the truth. You want to give unelected bureaucracy the ability to decertify me and remove me from office because you don't agree with my speech. Just for the record, my deputies don't wear masks, but once you pass this law that they can't, I will not only allow them, but I will encourage them to do so just to see what you do. I don't recognize your authority to impose these controls over me, and when you try to remove me from office, thousands of Pierce County residents will surround the county city building in downtown Tacoma and will not allow that to happen. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I and they are prepared. Are you prepared? Finally, anyone who votes for this will never have an audience with this sheriff.
Thank you. Could I have you identify yourself for the record? I'm sorry, that is not what we do at public hearings, and you will be asked to be removed if that continues. I'm sorry, Sheriff, for the record, we do need you to identify yourself by name.
Keith Swank.
I'm sorry, can I have you come do that at the mic so we can capture that information?
My name is Keith Swank, Pierce County Sheriff.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to go to Mark Kreider, who is online.
Thank you. I'm Mark Kreider. I'm currently the Sheriff of Walla County and the President of the Washington State Sheriff's Association. Today I stand before you to strongly oppose Senate Bill 5974, a proposal that claims to modernize laws governing sheriffs, police chiefs, and town marshals. In reality, this bill is a direct assault on local control, voter sovereignty, and the constitutional principles that make our sheriffs accountable to the people and not to the local. Senate Bill 5974 effectively declares that the voter accountability is no longer enough. Under the new eligibility and enforcement structure stated in sections 9, 11, and 12, a vacancy could be created if certification is not maintained or if eligibility requirements are later determined not to have been met or complied with while in office. That means that unelected state body applying standards and processes outside the local electorate become star chambers, not just for certification, but for whether the people's elected sheriff may continue to serve. There's a constitutional principle at stake that should matter to every person in the state, regardless of party. Article 1 of the Washington Constitution begins with a simple truth. All political power is inherent in the people, and governments derive their just powers from the consent of the government and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. This is not accountability, it's a power grab. The Washington State Constitution in Article 11, Section 5 states the legislature shall prescribe duties and fix their terms of office for county officers by general and uniform laws, not override the will of county voters or single out the office of sheriff for special restrictions no other elected official.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. Next up will be John Knowles, and on deck is going to be Jeff DeVere, Derek Nunnally, and Brad Banks. Sheriff Knowles, can you please unmute and begin?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, very clearly.
Okay. Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify. I'm Sheriff John Knowles. I am the elected sheriff of Spokane County and also the current president of the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. Senate Bill 5974, as it is being presented right now, it will do very little to hold anybody more accountable than we already are as peace officers in the state of Washington. I myself, as a sheriff, have been a certified peace officer in the state of Washington for 28 years. I attend all of the trainings and meet all of the requirements that are met by all of the men and women who serve under me. This legislation, the problematic part of this legislation, in my opinion, is an offense to me as a citizen and a voter in the state of Washington. This bill essentially and functionally removes the voice of the voters in the state of Washington in who leads their law enforcement organizations, represents the community's ideals, values, and ethics at a local level, and allows an unelected body appointed by the governor, and by the way, made up by a minority of law enforcement professionals, to remove an elected official from office without a vote of the public. I will also state that we would be the only elected officials in the state of Washington where this will be allowed. I fear that the Senate and the House, as they consider these bills, are willingly stepping into dangerous constitutional waters, and we could further erode public trust in all of government if this is passed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. And now we will go to the in-person testifiers. Please begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Good afternoon at this point. Derek Nunnally. I am from the Association of Washington Cities. We have checked in as other with concerns on this bill because of Section 7 with regards to volunteers. It seeks to restrict how police departments can use their volunteers. We're not aware of any incident that would require our public concern that would require new restrictions on police volunteers, and are aware of any significant misuse of police volunteers in police departments. Yet this list would restrict how they can be used, even though volunteers represent both the cost savings for departments and the chance for police and community members to interact in a setting that's not adversarial, not investigative, and does not involve someone who's come out of a traumatic situation. It's a chance for the police and the community to have a cooperative relationship. Yep. These volunteers, I'm referring to the part where it says volunteers cannot use surveillance technologies. That could include the camera in the lobby of police office. Share information from law enforcement. There's a separate list of restrictions on years that was passed by the legislature just last year in House Bill 2015. Hunting with those was presented as an incentive thing for local departments. This has become mandatory.
Oh, we're having a little